What's up, folks? Scott Fischer here. And this month on Fischer Paints, we're going to talk about my latest from Magic the Gathering. Look at this little guy. What? Gonti, the Night Minister. Check him out. Dude, he's looking pretty chill on that throne, hanging. Got the screens behind him, all blinged out. Let's get into this piece. You ready? Let's go. Here we go. All right, Gonti, looking cool. Here's his final card as printed. Check it out, man. I gotta say, it was a lot of fun doing Gonti because normally I'm always painting a face. In this case, as you can see, I got to paint a mask, so I don't have to worry about a face. This is my graphite drawing. He's looking all cool and chill. Lots of details I wanted to work out ahead of time. I scanned that graphite drawing in, and I printed out, and then I mounted to panel using gel medium on both sides like an Oreo cookie. I got out a little bit of the Alpha Air acrylic paint, and I stained it kind of purple, almost like a gradient going around the outside, and then we're jumping right into oil. This is how we're doing it. So I'm just going in on top of this drawing with the local color. I'm trying to establish the base middle value for everything in the piece. I'm doing this with a makeup sponge, you know, one of those little egg-shaped makeup blenders you can get. It's kind of like that. And I'm amazed how much detail I can actually get with it because it's got a little point on one end of it, believe it or not, and you can do a little rub out and lift out as you want to as you go through it. Anyway, super cool, but I'm also trying to bury my drawing a little bit so I don't see all the sketch lines. So there's a little bit of opacity built into it, and you can see I'm adding more opacity now, almost like ball gradients in Photoshop. That's the way I'm thinking. I'm obliterating detail in areas with gradients, but we're making these gradients with oil paint instead of, you know, using a computer to get it done. There we go. I wanted to get kind of a pink purple on his dress. You know, normally he's shown in like dark black robes, but in this case he's in lighter robes, which that was pretty cool. So I really wanted to push that and go pretty graphic with his robes and have them sort of stand out amongst everything else. I'm doing a lift out technique now where I'm going in and I'm actually taking little tiny rubber squeegees and stuff, and you'll see me going in and Q-tips, and I'm lifting out the paint because this is all still fresh oil paint. So I'm able to go in there, cut things out. That little blue thing you see there, that's a little like a little squeegee tool. You know, you can get whole packs of them with different shapes and stuff like that on, you know, Blick or wherever you want to go. And really, I just wanted to get this nice blingy kind of thing happening, and I thought being translucent with the paint and then lifting out would be the way to go. Now I'm going in with brushes and I'm doing some dark opaque mark making, right? And just hitting those nooks and crannies, you know, those buttery goodnesses that I like to hit. Pushing the glaze a little bit more, go ahead and taking that purple out towards the edge. And I want to take the frames around the screens darker than the screens themselves. So I'm already trying to establish that middle value. That's what this is all about, establishing these middle values throughout the piece. I thought I was going to stay monochromatic with the screens themselves, but I'll get a little bit of color on them as we go through the piece. Okay, I'm using like a teal blue. I figured he's got some kind of blue overlight. I don't know, man. I'm just kind of making this stuff up. That looked cool. I like the color. I also like how opaque that paint is. It's probably a bit of King's blue used with titanium white. Now using a lavender, we're going in for a second pass on the landscape stuff. And we're going to do a little bit of painting, a little bit of lift out. You know, it just looked like a lot of forests and stuff. So this is really kind of abstract stuff. There's not like a lot of crazy detail. I want to focus on Gonti sitting on the throne there. So I don't want to have like super high detailed background stuff. So we're just trying to stay ambiguous with the background. And really, it's a matter of me pushing those positive and negative shapes. So you'll see I'll do a dark shadow for a tree, and then I'll cut out the negative space behind it with a little bit of light or a little bit of lift out, and then I'll work it back the other direction and put a couple twigs on top of it. And it gets this nice sort of ambiguity throughout it. It feels sort of foggy, sort of interesting. Now, this is for the Aetherdrift racing thing, and there's these portals within the game that you can launch through. So I thought I would basically be showing different scenes from landscapes around the plains and little portals that you could hop through as you're racing around trying to win everything. Win that trophy that's sitting on the table, actually. So that's the first portal, just this little triangle. We'll repeat that motif in every little window that's going to be going on behind. I liked staying really organic with the screens. You know, I could have gone just pure rectangles, right? You know, gone kind of Dr. Doomy, like Osmodeus or whatever. And, you know, just kept them kind of like really like square. But I thought this organic stuff would play a little bit better. And it gave me different sizes that I could go in and kind of, here's a little island, right? So I'm kind of representing the colors of magic in this a little bit. Forest being in the middle. This would be planes in the top left, so I'm just trying to keep it pretty simple. At least the way my brain is working around it anyway. Kind of pretty simple stuff, but again, I wanted to stay pretty monochromatic with it. I thought I was going to treat all the screens as being, just lavenderish. Got some bad reflection going on there, but I'm going in with some grays and stuff, and eventually I'll pull out the Naples yellow and stuff, because plains tend to have a little bit more of a, I don't know, straw feel to me for some reason. And finally, we're going to finish up that big forest just by doing the same thing I was talking about before, knocking in positive and negative puzzle shapes, just cutting out little spots here and there, little dabs of light breaking through the leaves of the tree and the branches. And if you just create like 3 or 4 layers of trees going back in space, it looks like a whole forest. There's really not a lot going on there. There's a lot, it looks like a lot more than it is. All right, moving on. This isn't very swampy, but I was kind of thinking of it as the desolate, dark, gray, black sort of magic going on in this section here. Not a lot of vegetation or anything. Now I'm setting up the base middle value, pushing it darker for both the trophy that's on the table and the background stuff, because I want the screens to kind of glow. Staying pretty ambiguous. I'm doing a lot of streaky stuff in there with the oil paint, and then I'm finding forms within that I can lift out with the rubber squeegees or going with a little bit of opaque paint. I know from the reference provided to me exactly what this trophy had to look like, and that it kind of glows blue, so that was easy enough for me to do. And we're adding a bit of specular highlights, a little bit of crispiness to the outfit of our main character. Messing with the background once again, just little like accenty strokes. Notice I keep a little space between them. Think of it like a distorted checkerboard where I have positive and negative shapes filling an area. And that's how I'll do a lot of stuff with painting, believe it or not. It's almost like positive and negative little shapes around. You can see I already did what I considered the mountains there. It's kind of got a red glow around that portal on the other side of that hill. And yeah, we're just kind of feeling our way through this thing. Now we got to kind of figure out what's going on with the architecture of this little table that it's on. Pretty simple. We're just doing some chevron shapes coming down the center of it. Not too crazy. And now we're going to bounce a little bit of light from that lantern. Do a little bit of edge light, rim light on a few things. That felt pretty good. Let's light up the hand. Had to figure out how light to keep the background behind the hand because we didn't want it to disappear. So you can see how much lighter values are behind that hand. That gets it to come forward for us, right? On top of that, I'm going to go ahead and outline it with a little bit of that light falling down from the ceiling. And we're going to hit the shoulders with that too. And we're just going to spark up a bunch of stuff, little details. All right, casting a few shadows within that from the hood down onto the mask. And that felt pretty good. We're just working into a new layer. Doing his breastplate. He's got these weird sections of his body that are kind of broken up and cracked, and you see little glowing lights inside of it, but we'll do the glowing lights in a little bit. All right, I needed a little bit more contrast there, so I got out the makeup sponge. I added a little bit more purple to that area in there. And now I'm going to go in with a very thin brush and just add pure white into that wet oil paint, but it's pretty thin oil paint. So as I put that white in there, it's going to blend with the purple and do this cool, like, blendy out thing. And you'll see I keep having to add to the white, right? And then spark it more because it gets dirty every time I do it. All right, I decided to change the architecture of the chair. I had these kind of big head shapes back there almost, and I thought they were a little bit distracting. So we got rid of him. And now we got kind of a swoopy backdrop behind him. And I liked how that intersected with his shoulders a little bit more. I keep adding more and more specular highlights, going in and just ding, 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 sparking a few things. Time to get a little crazy. We're going to bust out the stencil here, and we're going to do these stencil shapes on top of his outfit. And you can see I'm doing them as a gradient, using purple into white to give it some kind of, transformation from the bottom to the top. And I'll rework it. I'll keep laying the stencil on and working it back and forth. Then I'll clean it up. I'll clean it off the areas that I didn't want it to be, going in with a Q-tip and lifting it off. Simple enough. And I thought that was a great way to just, add a graphic element to the piece without having to go in and, like, you know, render crazy stuff. I always love doing that. Any chance I can go in and use something graphically, I will do it. Time to do some smoke. It's originally drawn down with a little dark Conti, and then I used some oil medium on top of that, and it mixed with the Conti, which created the smoke. Then I started adding a little opaque paint in with that as well. And smoke is weird, man. You got to kind of do this like translucent rub off, run on thing, and you got to fade it out in areas. And, you know, normally when we do smoke, we almost do it too hard. So I like to go in there and hit it hard and then lift it off with a sponge. I decided to fill in the upholstery behind his head. Once again, this is a move to cut out his head a little bit more and bring it forward. It was a little distracting seeing that purple back there. And this creates a much nicer framing element for his head. Getting very close to the end here, we're going to go in with some white and just do a little bit of edge lighting. That was feeling pretty good. Ding, 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 ding. Once again, just this little tiny stuff. But you can see I start with these big moves and then slowly I go to smaller and smaller, tiny little moves. All right, I'm going to extend out the width of the chair as well. So we just brought down the sides of it a little bit. That works. Just pushing our contrast a little bit more. I'm actually changing the architecture once again on this throne. It had head shapes there that were the same things that were above. I just replicated the swoopy stuff that was above, and that felt like it was different than his body enough, and wasn't so isolated that you know, it got to all work together a little bit more. And then we started glazing some of the other elements darker at the bottom. And just adjusting a few things, pushing the contrast a little bit in the lantern. That works. And just drew a little couple of drop shadows from different things, like the sleeves and stuff. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, change the architecture of the chair. I like that. I like that swoopy stuff. It almost carries down the smoke in a fun way for me, too, that it's all swoopy there now. All right, just pushing a little bit darker through the framework so the screens will come forward. Simple enough. That's just a thin glaze. A couple more accent strokes on the skirting around the knees. Little bit of lift out in there as well. You know, it's like a back and forth process. All right, let's spark those eyes. Final thing. He's, again, got these kind of fissures in his body with these glowing blue dots of ether in them, I guess. Ether energy or whatever. So there we go. Spooky. Staring deep within your soul. And that's it, folks. All right. Hope you guys liked this piece. It was a blast to do. Again, a tiny piece for me, despite there being so much detail. Normally I like to work bigger because I don't like doing tiny detail with glasses on, but it worked out in this case. And the final card for you once again. Really stoked with this. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and seeing me take you down the track of Gonti the Night Minister. I don't know. Like, subscribe, do all that jam, spread the word. Come on back. We'll do some more of these. All right, guys, take care.